This week's by-election results saw a massive blow to the Tories, with the Prime Minister is desperately attempting to keep calm and carry on. Rishi seems to have a new electioneering strategy, which is also known as stating the bleeding obvious. Earlier this week, schools were told to ban pupils from using mobile phones, even though they pretty much already are. Yesterday, Rishi reaffirmed his support for farmers and insisted he's got their back. But then today, teachers were told they will be legally required to report child abuse. What can we expect next? Maybe they'll tell us it's illegal to drive without insurance. To give us their take on the state of the Tories is Telegraph journalist Stephen Edgington, political commentator Candice Holdsworth, and editor of Spikes Online, Tom Slater. Welcome to all three of you. I guess we can dispense with the Tories for the moment, in that sense anyway, but talk about what happened tonight and this afternoon in the House of Commons. An absolute shambles. I mean, even Layla Moran called it embarrassing. And you know when you're in a bad place when that happens, you know. And it was absolutely quite unbelievable. At one point, they were asking to vote in secret, take the cameras down so that nobody could see what was going on. Otherwise, you know, there might be repercussions, retribution. There was a demand by Lindsay Hoyle that they should change the protocol so that the opposition Labour Party could get the amendment against the SNP. People walked out. I mean, just amazing scenes.
It's quite embarrassing, really, isn't it? It's
terrible
to see this stuff, because this has no impact whatsoever on anything. The Israelis aren't looking at this stuff. It's just us humiliating ourselves in Parliament because of, frankly, a mob of activists who are bullying MPs into discussing this issue, who are bullying Labour into calling for a ceasefire. Labour have sort of appeased these activists, and they follow them around everywhere. When Angela Rayner walks down the street, she can't be left without being shouted at over this ceasefire issue. So I think this is a really sort of humiliating
It really is. I mean, I came in tonight and I didn't actually know exactly what the building was, but I later discovered Southwark Council, which is in Tooley Street down the road here. There's a huge mob outside there waving Palestinian flags. I don't know what they've done, whether they put council tax up in Gaza City or something, you know. But it is mad, isn't it?
Well, they're hoping to apply that political pressure, and they're sort of playing the long game. I mean, after October 7th, there was a huge amount of support. I mean, unqualified support for Israel, but gradually you've seen it ebb away. And now you're seeing these, like, qualified statements. I mean, trying to pick apart what the difference was between the SNP, Labour and Conservatives on this. And there are the differences, but they're trying very carefully to make their language, appeal to different sorts of people. I think that was predictable, but it is true. You have got this sort of political intimidation now. And it's been going on and on and on and on. I mean, the debate's always been nasty. I mean, anyone who knows the Israel-Palestine debate knows that it is just one of the nastiest debates. But sort of now everyone's getting a bit of it now, getting a taste of it.
And they're not going to solve it in one afternoon in the House of Commons, after 2,000 years. But, I mean, the argument about Lindsay Hoyle being in the wrong is that he kind of let Sir Keir Starmer off the hook because he allowed their motion to be sort of the one that went through, thereby meaning that they wouldn't have an opportunity, the Labour Party MPs, to vote for the SNP.
No, absolutely. If you think about how this particular battle in the House of Commons has ended, with the Labour motion about effectively winning by default, it's hard not to see that as things panned out, it's been a huge benefit to the Labour Party. It's worth facing such a huge potential rebellion on their hands, people being on resignation watch. That was all the mood music going into this. Now, and especially for Lindsay Hoyle, because of the fact that he was very much trying to be the anti-Burko when he came in. He's not going to be the political grandstanding speaker who will change convention at any time just to benefit the people, or the Labour Party effectively, or people he tends to have sympathies with. And now I think that lies in tatters. And to see him suddenly turn around so quickly this afternoon and start apologising profusely, I think he recognises
I think he realised that his life was on the line. Let's have a look at that apology as he delivered it a little while ago. No, we haven't got it. No, we did have it. Have we got it? No, you've got it.
And I have tried to do what I thought was the right thing for all sides of this House. I thought I was doing the right thing and the best thing, and I regret it, and I apologise for how it's ended up. I do take responsibility for my actions, and that's why I want to meet. And that's why I want to meet with the key players who have been involved.
Well, he may want to meet with the key players that have been involved. We're told there's about 32 MPs and counting looking for a motion of no confidence. And I think he may have been held below the waterline here, because, I mean, I'm not one of those that thinks Lindsay Hoyle's been a brilliant speaker at all. I find him irritating in the extreme, quite pompous during Prime Minister's questions, threatening to throw people out and then not doing it. I mean, he's got quite a bit of Burko about him.
Well, when you follow Burko, there is an incredibly low bar for being a good speaker.
Yeah.
I think that Lindsay Hoyle looks a lot better than John Bercow does, frankly. However, as you say, I think quite rightly, he hasn't been an excellent speaker. And the Conservatives, they've had this odd thing where you've got this protocol where you've got a Conservative speaker and then a Labour speaker. And it seems like we've just had 2 Labour speakers for the last almost 20 years.
I mean, Bercow was known to have not really been a proper Tory. He was really more aligned with Labour, and in fact, he wanted to become a Labour peer. But I think, as Hoyle would say, yes, he's been better than Bercow, but not as partisan until today. And suddenly, if he's now accused of helping Labour, then that, not partisan bit will disappear. But let's go back to the Tories, Candice, because that's supposedly why we're here. Rishi Sunak still can't really get anything right, can he?
He can't. And, I think with these by-elections where he did so badly, people are thinking, oh, they're going to be more leadership shenanigans.
Right.
I mean, there were sort of predictions that maybe he would call a May election to see them off. But we were discussing earlier, is it going to make any difference? Like, is there anything he can do wrong or right now that's going to make any difference?
I don't think so.
Are we focusing on him too much even?
Yeah. I wonder if the only thing that could happen to him is a sort of self-implosion from Labour, because there's still that possibility. I mean, Keir Starmer does not look like a man in charge of his party, whatever they keep saying. Every time you wheel out some Labour apparatchik, they're like, look how he's cleaned up the party. And you go, Rochdale, well, that was an anomaly. What about the other guy, who used to be an MP? Oh, well, that's okay. What about all these MPs who want to resign because they don't believe that you've got the right attitude on Gaza? It's still possible, I think.
It's true.
And sorry, I was just saying, this is the problem when you make your whole strategy just waiting for the Tory party to collapse.
Right.
Because there is no positive reason that people feel to have to vote for Keir Starmer.
Right.
And they're not really, are they? I mean, there's not great enthusiasm for Labour.
Well, Labour, as we've seen today, are completely obsessed with the Gaza argument, and they can't seem to get past it. They can't get beyond it. Even their own people can't agree on a form of wording.
Well, Keir Starmer is clearly no Tony Blair. However, the Conservative Party have been in charge for 14 years, and every day on this show, I know that you might cover all of the failures that the Conservatives have implemented, including record migration, record taxation, record spending, complete takeover of the civil service by woke activists, all under Conservative government, Conservative ministers. And I think that feeling of betrayal, particularly from those Conservative voters in 2019 and those Brexit voters in 2016, they will feel a real sense of betrayal after all of those failures that I've just mentioned. So why should they ever return to the Conservative Party again, let alone in this election?
Is there any chance that any of these splinter groups do anything, like Liz Truss's Popcons and Reform? I know they're not really a splinter group, but, is there any chance that right-wing Tories will sort of meander over to one group?
Well, I think it seems like, especially where the public are concerned, it just looks like rats fighting in a sack. I actually think it's worse for Sunak than you're suggesting, Stephen, because I don't think people were furious with Sunak. They're kind of indifferent to him. They're they're just so unimpressed with him. It's like the opposite of love is not hate, it's indifference. And I think that's what you get with Sunak at the moment. People just think he's kind of pathetic. Yeah. And that's almost the worst position to be in as a political leader. People might disagree with you, but they can still respect you for taking a position. I think in Sunak's case particularly, but somewhat true with Starmer as well, people just are so unimpressed by him.
And also, when everything's going this wrong, just don't be slick.
Yes.
Just don't go to a farmers' conference where nobody's been for 15 years and go, we've got your back. Because everyone goes, no, you haven't. You haven't been here for 15 years.
I know. Maybe it's authenticity people want. I feel like we're in that moment. People like it as well in, their media figures as well. They don't like anything too polished now. People quite like a bit rough around the edges, I think.
There's some suggestion, although this has been said before, Penny Mordaunt could beat Starmer at the next election. I don't know where that comes from. Penny Mordaunt.
It's from a poll of Tory voters, apparently.
Yeah.
I mean, Penny Mordaunt, she is incredibly woke. If you look at the book that she wrote.
Well, yeah, absolutely. There's history of her saying a trans woman is a woman in the House of Commons, right?
The one thing that she has in her sort of tick box is that she managed to hold a sword properly.
Right.
At the
but then we all found out it was in a sort of holder, which kind of defeated the object. I mean, it's one thing if she's going like that with it, but it was actually in a scabbard.
I was unimpressed. Sorry.
I was just saying, I like the idea if this is how the Tory party chooses their leader, if you can carry a sword well across it.
Brings back Heseltine with a mace, is what I say. You're watching the Independent Republic of Mike Graham.